Well, the little foam pad that I tried on the switch didn't work. After a couple days, the door ajar alarm started beeping again. So at this point, I've ordered a new switch. I'll post a link with the part number here in the video. And I figured, well, I've got nothing to lose, so I'm gonna try to see what's going on with the switch. So check out what's going on with this switch. Right now, we should be measuring 0 ohms when the switch is open like that. And we're not quite getting that. We're getting like 5 ohms. Maybe that's okay. But watch what happens when I push the button down. It doesn't go totally open. 62K, 57K. If I push it again, 90, 80. So somehow, for some reason, this switch is not quite closing all the way to open. It's kind of backwards, right? You have to push the switch down to force it to be open. But it's not fully opening, or I would be getting infinite ohms reading there, and I'm not. I should be reading that. So I have ordered a new switch. We'll keep our fingers crossed that that fixes the problem. So what I did, I took the switch apart, I pried it open. I had to use a razor blade to kind of score along these seams here. And then I was able to pry it open. I put a couple little red marks in here with a Sharpie pen just so I know how the pieces go back together. So that gets you to this part of the switch. And the actual mechanism is still sealed in there. I wanted to get some deoxit down in there, some contact cleaner, and so I drilled a very small hole here, squirted some contact cleaner down in there, a fair bit actually, worked the button several times, and it might be working better now. Let me show you. So when the switch is open, we're measuring a couple ohms, 6 ohms or so there, and when it's closed, when I push down, we are going to infinite resistance. So that's good. Now it's back up 7 ohms. Push the button and we're at infinite resistance. So I'm going to put it back together, stick it back into the freezer, and see what happens. I do have a new switch on order, and we'll see what happens. I probably should seal up this little hole with a little dab of silicone just so moisture doesn't get down in there. Although, again, at this point, it might not really matter. Well, it's now been 3 days since I repaired the old door alarm switch, and it seems to be working. So I just got the new switch in. We'll take a quick look at it. But for now, I'm just going to leave the old switch in, and I'll have the new switch as a spare. But let's take a look at the measurements on the new switch. So here's the new switch. It's not exactly the same. This part's a little thinner on this replacement, so it's not exactly the same. But the measurements, I think, look really good. Let me show you. So when the door is opened, the switch reads basically 0 ohms, 0.1, and as soon as I begin to close the door, you see it like immediately jumps to infinite resistance. None of this a few hundred K ohms, a few meg ohms. It immediately goes to open. And so that looks good. I think this switch would work great, but like I said, for now I'm just going to leave the old switch in there since it's working fine, and I'll have this one as a spare. For now, that ends the saga of this Kenmore freezer door alarm problem. I guess the moral to the story is don't immediately jump to the conclusion that it's the control board. Even if the light works and the door light turns on and off, that doesn't necessarily mean that however the controller is sensing that switch means that it's working right. Because apparently if there's like any amount of resistance through that switch, if it doesn't totally open and go to infinite resistance, the control board interprets that as a door open alarm. And so, yeah, I think had I just replaced the switch at the beginning, this would have been a much shorter video. But again, hopefully this has helped you out there. Thanks.